Hey everyone, welcome to Northern Soul. Today, this is a big test here. I didn't even know this test was going to exist till I ran into what is dollar store Kinesio tape. So I'm like, really? Dollar store tape? That's a surprise because usually it's quite expensive. I didn't expect to see that kind of there. So I've purchased a few rolls to test it against like premium brand tape, the professional stuff, and also like the cheaper stuff that you can get, like I've previously purchased. So it's going to be a three-way, just as everyone has dreams of, with dollar store tape, cheap tape that I've purchased previously, and then actual professional grade tape. In this case, it's going to be mobility tape. And I'm just going to show you real time and then share results that I've had while using it, because I've tested it for 5 days. Had all the tapes, the 3 different tapes on me, using them all together and different things, and very interesting results. I almost wanted this to fail because it's just one of those things where you kind of don't want to get caught out buying brand stuff if you don't have to. But I'll go through, it's not a clear cut way of explanation, but I'll try to explain it the best I can. So let's get right to it. So this I purchased for, now to understand that the rolls that they come in are much smaller, so you're getting less tape per roll. So this is 2 yards, and typically you get about 5 meters, which, so 1 yard is approximately like 1 meter. And so this is 2 yards versus what will be typically you'd find in a roll of about 5 yards. So if I pull this one out, now this is a slightly used roll. So this is a fresh one I haven't even opened. You can see the wrap still on it. This one's been used a little bit, but you can see that there's a significant difference in how much you get. So this is about, I don't know, would that be about 33% or something like that. So you need to buy about 3 of these to get, it'll be a little bit, if you get 3 of these, it's a little bit over a roll of this stuff, right? You'll get an extra yard out of it. So I purchased this for $1.25 at the dollar store for 2 yards. And this, when I bought these rolls, they were pretty cheap back in the day. Now this is going back a few years, probably about $6 or so. That's basically like half price of this. But nowadays you can't even get that for $6-7. Now they're like $12 or so. So the value really starts to come through. So if this is, if a cheap roll, this represents like one of the cheaper rolls that still kind of works well if you get a good roll, but you're also risking not getting a good roll. So the value is definitely there, but this relative to so we'll say it's like twice as much. A premium roll can cost about typically about $20 to $30. So, I mean, that's like, you can get 8 to 10 rolls, like worth of that for the cost of one premium roll. That's substantial. So the difference is like, are the premium rolls 8 to 10 times better than like a dollar store roll? That's really the question. Because if it isn't, then obviously all day you're going to be doing dollar store, if you can find it. Now I found it out there. It doesn't mean you can go to a dollar store and find it. I don't know, because they're all different. So, but is it worth checking out is the question. So money aside, the value is definitely there. And I've got a couple. So I've got representation here. So the beige is the dollar store roll. The orange is the cheap roll, and then the premium roll is the black here that says mobility tape on it. So I'm just going to move this aside. So what we're going to do is check out stretch. So you can see that they're all the same, they're cut the same size, so it's fair. I'm going to do it in real time so you can see, and I've got measuring tape here. So they were all cut at 5 inches, and we're going to see if, like, what the stretch equals. So we don't need the tape anymore, but we're going to just see, because more stretch is good to a point. Like if you get more stretch, it's kind of more forgiving on if you're doing applications for like substantial stretch and stuff like that. That's when it really becomes important. So I'm just going to do the typical, and I'll show the backing of it if you can see it. You can see the glue on it, and the cutouts are perfect on this. So there's no problems with gluing. It sticks. I found this sticks well enough, and you can take it off without ripping a ton of skin. So if you do get a good roll, it does work great. So I'm just going to use the typical about, I don't know how much that is, 3/4 an inch on the end. They're all going to get the same treatment. So I'm just going to stretch out to 100, just put it on the table, and then no stretch on the ends as you would normally do. There we go. Dollar store roll. Break. Now I'm just going to check. Now this is, I obviously didn't check it because it had the backing on it. But as you can see, the glue on it is perfect. There's no issues. Same thing as the cheaper roll. I almost wonder if it's the same thing, just got a really good deal on them, or I don't even understand how they get that. But as you pull it out, you can see right through it. There's not a lot of resistance, so it does open up easily. This might be a bit more of a problem if you don't get a lot of like pretty good resistance going back. You might have an issue with if you're using taping for support, because you'd want a little bit more resistance on that, right? Now we're going to do a mobility tape. So I'm going to break that in half. And as I show the glue, you can see that's pretty perfect as well. So they're all perfect glue-wise. So this has got a bit more resistance to it. That'll provide more support. So 100% stretch. And if I can get it to stick, there we go. So this the mobility tape's a bit further down that way, so it's a little bit shorter over here. But I think they're all about even, actually, to be honest. The stretch is about the same. You get a bit more resistance on the mobility tape, which will be better if you're using it for support taping. But as far as like flexibility and resistance, or it won't be, they're just as equally not aggravating, because they allow that stretch on the skin. So that's a very great result from all tapes. Espresso break. Okay, so you can see they're all matched up here. I cut, so you can see some of the backing on the tape. So this one, you can see mobility tape, at least in this one, reiteration, which is the large roll, it didn't come with markers on the back for cutting. It's not that big of a deal. I really wouldn't care about that, but this one doesn't come with it. This one, you can see little hash marks. Sometimes they come with it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it looks like this for the cheap tape. The dollar store tape in this case came with, as you can see, very similar hash marks for helping you cut straight. But once again, that's not really a big deal. It's a nice little add-on that they added, but really of little use. I personally never use that. I don't really care. I'm perfectly fine with this. But just to show you the backing, just in case you are interested, what does it look like on the back? So my personal, and this is, if you're interested in what the box looks like, this is what it looked like when I purchased it. I don't know if you'll have that brand there or not, but you can see 2 yards versus 5 yards. My takeaway from all this, when I did the testing, they all stayed on perfectly fine. I would be happy with any of the tapes. I did the showering, put the soapy water on them, the whole bit, and they all looked great. They all stuck on. The mobility tape is stickier, so if you just put it on and it's like a day or two, you try to take it off, it'll pretty much take some skin off with it. It's so sticky. So if you're into like sports and sweating and stuff, mobility tape will probably be better for you if you find that's a problem, or that's a priority. Otherwise, if you give it up to, I mean, this mobility tape, I've had it stay on for like 10 days. Like, it's just ridiculous. 7 days, no problem. And it'll look pretty fresh. Check out the other video I got on the tape testing for premium tape. You'll see how well it did. So it definitely has, it definitely does what it says it does. These ones here, they stayed on. What can I say? I was almost expecting it to fail or to come off, but it just didn't. This channel is about honesty. So this is what it's about. I would be happy with any of these tapes, using them. Now, where you might not want to use dollar store tape is if you're a professional, because you don't want to be selling dollar store tape at your clinic, or if you're using it professionally, you want to be using a branded tape. Why? Because it's reliable. you might get a bad roll. I haven't got a bad roll yet from the dollar store stuff, but that I have received pretty poor rolls from the cheap usual one. So I'm guessing, and I can't back this up, but I'm assuming that this will be a similar sort of make of these cheap rolls. It's just cheaper still. So, but at that price, you can, if you're just doing it casually, or you're a hobbyist, or you're at home and you don't have a lot of money, but you want to utilize the tool of the taping, absolutely go for it. What I would suggest, if you're going to buy dollar store tape, if you do find it, buy only one roll, go home, test it. If it ends up being good and actually does work, then clean the dollar store out. Like if they got 8 boxes, take all 8 boxes, kind of thing. Clean them out, because it's definitely well worth buying, purchasing, and having if you can find a good lot of rolls where they're not, the glue's good and it's you know, it works well. But there's no guarantees with these ones. With a branded tape, high-end tape, professional grade tape, it's so reliable. It's shocking if you get a bad roll. It does happen to any, it can happen to any of them, but it's less likely. So if you're a professional, if you're a therapist, if you're an athletic coach or whatever, or an athlete that's very serious about your sport, get a professional brand. Or if you're a little bit on a budget, you can't, you know, you want to use tape, but you can only get so much, and you're trying to get value. But it still works, and you're not too concerned about, like, if it comes off, you'll just put a fresh one on. Or if you get a bum roll once in a while, it's not going to bother you too much, especially at that price range. Then go ahead and get the dollar store one. So hopefully that clarifies that. Thank you so much for watching. We've got new videos coming all the time on Northern Soul channel, so subscribe. And if you want to join the memberships, that really helps the channel, support the channel. Thanks very much, and have a good day, and happy taping.